Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is the M12. It's the Tier 7 American SPG. It's located on the south spawn of Murovanka, and this one is under the command of Kinja of DNUT. Now it's a 155mm howitzer. It's the first SPG that carried the 155mm for the Americans. They had towed Arty up until then, but this was the first one that could actually keep up with the tanks by going alongside them, or at least being able to redeploy fairly quickly. It's based on the M3 hull, because of course that was the first hull that the Americans actually managed to get mass manufactured, and they made 100 of them, and they started making them in 1942, and by 1943, March of 1943, they actually had 100, and they kept 70, I think it was 74 of them were sent overseas. The others were all kept at home for training. Now the last remaining one of these is actually at Fort Sill in Oklahoma, the home of American artillery, and yes, it's called Adolf's Assassin, that particular one, otherwise known as the Door Knocker. This was the Arty that could actually knock down bunkers, because of course they had 105mm howitzers mounted on top of the Priest, which is also an M3 hull, but up until then the 105mm is not very good at knocking down bunkers, because basically it's not a particularly heavy shell. But the 155 is really devastating to bunkers, and of course they tended to use it at very close range, and that was the direct hit there. They used it at very close range on the enemy, and it really did have a terrible effect. It would go through steel and concrete and just wreck the bunker, whatever it was. Now it's actually a French gun, not a howitzer actually. Shouldn't call it a howitzer because it is a French design. And in fact, if you look at the breech of the gun, you can see it's French, because of course it has that unique French design of the breech. I know people say, how can you tell it's a French design? Yes, but a lot of French artillery had the same state of, or the breech, or same form of the breech since First World War. And of course this was identical to that. So even the Germans liked the French Arty, because they captured a whole load of them in the fall of France, and they actually turned them into pack guns. They actually used them as anti-tank guns, and one in particular was captured by the Germans rather, and was taken to Africa by the Africa Corps and was used against the British, but it got captured. And that was when Tiger 131 was captured. And although some people say that, yes, Tiger 131 was actually captured by a lucky shot from a Churchill 3, it was a Churchill's 1, may have been a Churchill 4. But the fact is that there was a German gun which was of French origin. It was originally a French artillery piece, but it was actually being used by the Germans, and the British captured it, and then they used it after then. Okay, got the that was a bit short, that one. Normally I'd put the rescue just the other side of the target, but we have been noticing a lot of shells falling short since the new client came in, so it might be something to do with that. It also helps if you use Battle Assistant. Rounds out.
That'll have ruffled their feathers.
Well, he actually damaged the BZ-58, and he got some damage on the other tank as well. It's alongside him. Now, these shells are capable of doing 600 alpha, 39mm pin, and 7.2 meters on the burst radius, between 11.5 and 23 seconds of stun. He's landed in a tier 8 game with tier 7 tanks in it, so he's bottom tier, which means extra XP. There's the Kalana. That's it. Leave the rescue on the other side. When the guy goes unspotted, it's reverting back so that the rescue is jumping to in front of instead of behind the target, and that's why you're missing. Because of course it's changing the aim the moment the enemy goes unspotted. So what you want to do is try and get the rescue to keep the little dot at the center of it, the other side. Okay, so you didn't have to fire there, so you can now go after the VK. That's it, keep the rescue, the dots just the other side. Well, that's going to be a much easier hit, but you probably won't get some stun assist. And the moment you saw him go unspotted, did you notice the way the dot moved forward? And that's why you keep missing, because it's actually causing the rescue to jump and change aim. I know it can be difficult when tanks are unspotted. They suddenly disappear and the aim changes. It did it again, just there. But ideally, try and pick a tank that's always spotted, like that VK, or the XM57, and keep the aim. That's it. And now go.
Let's try and light him up.
That was much better. He got 251 from that one. But I think you can see what I mean. The difficulty is in actually the moment that the system sees that the aim or the target seems to have disappeared, it thinks that you're actually trying to shoot at a target that's much closer, and that's why the shells are missing. But it's certainly worth thinking about the way you aim at targets. You have to let the aim dial in, but you don't want the target to suddenly disappear and for the aim to actually adjust accordingly. Rounds out. That's better. He got that one perfect. The same thing happens when you actually change types of shell. If you actually change to an armor piercing, it's got a different trajectory. And again, that changes the aim the moment you fire. Okay, this could be a kill shot.
Let's make the next shot one for them to remember.
Unbelievable. That shell should have killed the target. All it did is make a clang noise, so the shell probably didn't even detonate. It did happen during the war. They did fire shells which turned out to be duds, but not that often. Okay, try and get this XM. That's it. Now. Perfect.
You're a sensitive one, ain't you?
Right on the money, that one. And he got stun assist as well when the Progetto was hit. Okay, we've got the communications expert now working, which means 2.5% extra on skills. And now he's starting to hammer them. The Caliban this time. We're 3 down on the enemy, but we've got a lone M3Y in the Magic Forest, holding off 3 tanks at the moment. Unfortunately, he just got killed, so we might need to get closer to our teammates for security's sake. Another direct hit on the Caliban. We can see that the enemy Arty shells seem to be coming in at an angle. They're coming in from the right, which indicates that the enemy Arty is somewhere on the 8, 9 or 0 line and is shooting in from that difficult angle. Fire blind. I reckon that must have been near. Yes, you can see the shells are actually coming in from the corner, which probably means that the enemy Arty is either in A9 or A0, and he's shooting from that very odd angle. Now, the enemy tanks that were in the Magic Forest, instead of going south, have just cut straight across to come into this area, and that's really hurting them, because if they were actually able to come up behind our guys, then they will be a genuine threat to us. But what they've done instead is weaken themselves, and 2 tanks have been wiped out already, and now we're only 1 behind. The VK100-01. There's the Caliban again. Low on hit points. Let the reticle set the other side. That's it. Rounds out. Just a bit short. Sometimes it's easier if you can see a tank that's reversing in a straight line. Pick a spot just the other side of that line, and so the thing backs into the line of the fire, and then obviously you dial in on that specific point, and then you can fire and get a direct hit.
Pierce the armor, did we?
And we see it again, screen not penetrated. I mentioned this the other day on What Arty Noobs on the Facebook page, that is one of the things that infuriates me when they say screen not penetrated by an HE shell. An HE shell would hit the front of the vehicle and it wouldn't matter if it didn't penetrate. The crew would be out of action straight away. They'd all be shaken to death by the stun alone, but it will be that the shockwaves would actually tear them to pieces. Well, there's only 4 enemies left now. There's 5 on our team. The enemy have got 1 tank over on the other side of the map. It's a T-25AT, who doesn't appear to have engaged in the battle, but, well, that's what we think. And we're changing angle as well, and we're changing position. We're not under threat of counter battery. The enemy Arty is a GW Panther, and although we have seen his effects, we haven't been under threat from him. The T-25AT is now being spotted, and he's asking for artillery support. The Su-122A, 44 rather. But he managed to kill the enemy anyway, because of course he's got a 122mm gun, and it could be the T-25 actually only had the 90mm. We don't know that for certain, but it looks like that Su-122-44 is definitely going after the enemy Arty. Oh, he's not, because of course the enemy Arty's died. Now I wonder how that happened. I didn't see him drown himself. But now there's only 1 enemy vehicle left. The Su-122-44 went Arty hunting, but he's not looking at his scoreboard. If he did, he would actually know that the enemy Arty is dead already. He's probably just figured it out, just like I did. And so there's only 1 left, and he's just gone. Or did he? No, the Chimera it's the VK-100-01. So I'd stop here and start shooting at that VK. He's gone past the gap. All well and good to change angle, but you don't want to go to a position where you can't shoot the enemy. But it's all over anyway, because they've just killed the VK. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was another first ace tanker, this time for Kinja of DNUT in the M12. Congratulations on getting your first ace. He managed also to get a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 9, and he got a win rate of 2,813, which is Unicum standard. Let's have a look at team score. Well, the highest damage in this battle turned out to be that VK-100-01P, who managed 4,373 hit points. He picked up the high caliber. Second highest damage went to our Chimera, who got 4,300, and of course he was taken out by that VK. And the third highest damage in the game turned out to be the Conceiver, one of the British double-barreled tanks, the new ones that have come in. He got 2,841 hit points of damage in third place. We can see that Kinja managed to get 1,975. He was beaten by 3 members of the enemy team, 3 members of his own team, and that places him 7th overall on damage. When it came to kills, though, we can see top scorers were the Chimera and the VK-100-01P. Both managed to get 4 kills. 3 kills went to the Tiger P on our team, and the CS-44 on the enemy team, and he also picked up an Oskins medal, and that's for killing 2 enemy tanks or tank destroyers in a game, at least 1 tier higher than his own. And the third place goes to the Conceiver, the Su-122-44 on our team, and on the enemy team, just their XM57 managed to get 2 kills. So I'm afraid Kinja only got the 1 kill in the game, but when it came to base XP, he's a little higher up the table because it's actually in third. The Chimera managed 1,478. The Conceiver managed 1,056, and there is Kinja with 1,035. So one of the 3 players who managed to get over 1,000 base in the game. So well done on very, very good achievement. Let's have a look at detail. He fired all 20 rounds in this game. I think that's the reason why he didn't fire at the VK. He was actually trying to get to the enemy cap area, put pressure on. He used up his last rounds of ammunition. I normally try and transmit that to other players that I'm down to the last round or last 2 rounds, so that they know that I'm only going to be able to give help on another couple of shots before I'm going to run out of ammo. He got 7 direct hits on the enemy, no penetrations, but he did get 15 splashes, 1,975 hit points of damage, all of it at more than 300 meters. Damage 6 of the enemy, kill 1, so just missed out on getting a Confederate. And he got 1,965 hit points of stun assist of 17 stuns, and that's where he got the ace tanker. On a premium count, he actually made a profit of 5,771 credits, and he also took away 10,870 experience points. I do like my M12, actually. It's one of the tanks, one of the Arty I've got 3 marks on, because it can be very, very accurate. It takes you a while to get there, but once you have got there, it's one of those Artys that's a real reliable Arty at getting ace tankers and getting good hits on the enemy. It is difficult with top-down mode to adjust and get your shots bang on target. I could see that Kinja was having difficulty because the rescuers kept jumping, and part of that is down to the fact that there's lots of steep rises in Murovanka where the ground goes up or comes down, and when you do that and you're adjusting, it tends to move those center marks, those aiming marks, about quite a bit, so it makes it difficult for you to get it on target. But if you try some of the tricks I was suggesting, such as working out where he's pulling back to, the enemy tank, and then picking that spot and then just letting it settle and dial in and fire at him the moment he's about to go through that spot, so that the shell it exactly hits him just as he goes through. That's really good tactic in terms of getting good hits. But congratulations go to Kinja. First ace tanker in the M12. Not his last. He will certainly get more. And I think it's actually a good sign for the future. Hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like. And thank you for watching.